So, welcome everybody to our first webinar one for our AI for Earthquake Response Challenge. This is our first major challenge with a third-party provider this year, and we're very excited to welcome so many interested attendees to this webinar, and of course so many participants to the overall challenge. We're still missing one person from the organizing team, but he should be joining any minute. He will be the one who will guide us through the data set description and should be here any minute. But let's already start with a few words about why we are meeting today. So I have seen in the participants list quite a few names that I have recognized from old challenges, quite a few new names. Welcome to the Phi-lab challenges. You might still know it under the old name AI for EO. Here we try to strengthen the synergies between the global AI and EO communities through the organization of public challenges. We do this by trying to organizing cutting-edge challenges where we merge AI and Earth observation, where we try to build a global AI and EO community. And we do this by providing world-class curated data and tools with our partners, and of course also thriving skills and offering visibility to your solutions. So let's have a quick look at the team today, or at least some of the team today, the team behind the AI for Earthquake Response Challenge. I will quickly start on the left upper side with Dr. Gabriele Miglioni, who is an innovation officer at the ESA Fab and also the responsible technical officer for the Fab challenges. Gabriele, if you would like to say a few words.
For sure. Good evening to everyone. It's a pleasure for me to be here and participate in this webinar for these very interesting challenges related to the use of AI for Earthquake Response Challenge. Good evening, everyone, and thanks for joining.
Thank you very much, Gabriele. Then I'm very happy from our team also to welcome Dr. Juan Pedro, who is the co-founder and CTO at EarthPulse, a company that is focused on Earth observation analytics and automation tools. He is part of our organizing team and also the one responsible for the Earth observation training data lab, the EOTDL, that you might know from your interactions with the data. So good evening, Juan. And then we go to our contributors, our data contributors. So on the side of the charter, we actually have 3 people from the organizing team here. We start with Zachary Foltz, who is a research engineer at the ACRI ST. Hi, Zach. You will actually be the one who will guide us through the main slides in a few minutes. Thank you very much. And then we also have Dr. Mauro Arcorace, I hope I pronounced that right, Senior Applications Manager at Terradu, and Christian Bossung, easier for me to pronounce, of the environment, who is an environmental scientist at the Luxembourg Institute of Science and Technology LIST, who both also contributed majorly to the creation of the data set that is used in this challenge. So let's have a short look at the agenda today. We will start with a short challenge introduction. Then we have a short data introduction where Zach will actually guide you through a few steps of how to interact with the data, how to submit, for example, your solutions and so on. And then we go into the live Q&A. And for the live Q&A, I have 2 more comments. First of all, this webinar will be recorded, and we will make this recording available later down the line. So no need to take too many notes. You can rewatch this video at a later date. You can actually ask questions anonymously, so your names will not be visible in the video at any times. And the second is, of course, behind the scenes, there is a much bigger team than us 6 people here. And maybe your question is very specific for a specific expert who is not present here today. In this case, we would actually save the question, bring it to our experts, and then provide you a question in the following days. Okay, then I guess we can already start with the challenge introduction and maybe with a few words about the International Charter for Space and Major Disasters. And Zach, if you would already like to take the floor.
Yeah, no problem. I can go ahead and take the floor for this. Hey, everyone. I'm Zach from ACRIST in France, and I'm the lead on the charter side for this. I support ESA on the charter and have been supporting the European Space Agency on the charter activities for the last few years. So just to give everyone an introduction to the charter, what the charter is, it's a humanitarian collaboration between space agencies to provide satellite data for disaster response around the world. So it was established in 2000, and since then there's been more than 980 activations in over 140 countries. And by activations, we mean there's been an activation of the charter for a specific disaster event which has occurred around the world. So this can be things like floods, fires, and of course earthquakes, which is what the challenge is focused on. So a little bit more about the charter. There is authorized users in many countries around the world, about 105 countries, and as well we have partnership with the United Nations to connect other countries to the charter services as well. So if you look here at the charter's current members, you'll see those with a box around were the members which are contributing data to this challenge. And then again below the commercial data contributors, which you can see the ones who have contributed data to this challenge as well. So the charter is just as another thing to say, the charter is celebrating its 25 years anniversary this year. As I mentioned, it was established in 2000. So this challenge and the ceremony, the award ceremony for this challenge will be part of the 25th anniversary celebration for the charter. Thank you. So for this challenge, for the AI for Earthquake Response Challenge, so we have, as I mentioned, many activations, 980 activations over the last 25 years in the charter. So if we take all of the earthquake activations, especially those from the last 5 years or so, we definitely have a large data set of high resolution data in our archives, which we had the idea of creating this challenge in order to take advantage and use that data and put it to a greater purpose. So the goal of this challenge is to build an AI model which can detect buildings which have been damaged by an earthquake. And that model can, of course, either take pre and post-event imagery or just post-event imagery. So this is up to you. There's many different solutions to this problem. So we'll speak about that slightly more as we speak about the data. But just to give a little bit more intro. So again, you can see here on the screen some map products that have been created for earthquake activations. And really the goal of this challenge is to see what we can do with this data set that we have, which is a very unique data set that's multi-mission, contains data from several different satellites over many different years in different areas of the world. So we believe that this data set, if provided to the right people, so that would be you, the challengers, you can help us to develop something which we can use to enhance disaster response in the future. Thank you. We can advance. Yes. So the current status of Earth observation and sort of the use of Earth observation for earthquake or disaster response in general, and that is the building damage assessments that must be done after an earthquake. They are relying heavily on this manual interpretation of this high resolution data, which of course requires resources, including human resources, and this is something that we hope that can be improved through the use of AI. So again, this manual interpretation can cause delays in the disaster response process, and this can eventually make it slower to provide the aid to the search and rescue teams, which are relying on the interpretation of the satellite data to send their resources. So for earthquake events in particular, but for most events, most disaster events, Earth observation data is routinely acquired. And as I mentioned, we have this large data set from these past events. which is definitely going to be something positive for this challenge. So we can go to the next slide and take a look at the status of AI. So AI is just starting to break into the disaster response field, if you will, or sphere. And there are some current AI models which can be used for earthquakes or for other disasters as well. And in fact, there are existing AI models which can detect earthquake damage using high resolution imagery. However, the imagery must be from the same sensor. It must be perfectly aligned, and it must be cloud free as well. So there's a lot of different challenges with the current status of AI in this sphere. Can continue, yeah. So here, if we take a look at the timeline for the challenge, so you can see we're here on July 29th, and this is the introductory webinar to the challenge. So we just started phase 1 on July 11th, and that will last until the 5th of September. So you have 8 weeks for this initial challenge, this initial phase of the challenge, which will be focused on training your models and making some submissions, which you can track your progress through the live scoring on the public leaderboard. So yes, these are the prizes. The first place will receive 3,000 euros, second place with 2,000, and third place with 1,000.
And then maybe just to add on that, because we didn't put it on a slide, but the winners of this challenge will also have the possibility to join a board meeting of the charter in October, early October, for this, where we can travel some of the cover some of the travel costs, and where you can present your solutions to actually an international panel and international consortium of emergency response specialists, experts, politicians will be there. So really a great opportunity.
Yes, true. Thanks for mentioning that, Dennis. And also, just to incorporate as well as part of the prizes, we have the ESA Charter Mapper, which is the processing environment where the satellite data of the charter is sent and is calibrated and can be visualized and processed there. We have several different processing services within the platform, and it's possible that your model, the winning model that is, could potentially be integrated in the future into this platform. So you really have the opportunity to make a real difference in disaster response. Okay, so now moving on to a little bit of introduction onto the data, just to give everyone a brief overview and make sure you're not confused with the data and the files which are contained in the data set. So this is the structure, and you'll see you have an Excel file here at the top, which will assign each of the images and annotation files to each of the sites. So if you're having a bit of trouble associating the images with the annotations of the buildings, then you can use this Excel file. Also, there's a README, which can also provide you some further information on the data. So essentially, there will be this this training folder, and then we'll first begin with this folder with the annotations, and then for each site. So I have the example of 2 sites here. One is China, and the other is Myanmar. So each site, depending on if it is one of the sites which has been chosen for the live scoring, will contain a training file, can contain either a testing file or a analysis extent file. So if we focus first on the China site, the China site contains 2 files. One of them is China testing, and this is the file which we are asking you to complete and annotate the buildings, and then submit it to the live scoring tool for scoring for phase 1. And the second file you'll see is China training, and this is the building annotations which you use to train your model. And each of the sites will have this file, and this is just a fully annotated building a polygon file, which is solely for the purpose of training your model. So again, if there are 4 sites which have been chosen for the live scoring, and these 4 sites will include this testing file, this city name _ testing file, which we're asking that you run through your model to fill the annotations based on if the buildings are damaged or undamaged. So there will be a column in this file. There will be an ID, and then there will be another column called damage, and you will just need to fill in the damage column for 0 for undamaged, 1 for damaged. Yes, and then going on to the second example of the Myanmar. So Myanmar is was not selected for the live scoring, so it will be only for training. So you have this Myanmar training file, which again will just be complete annotations for the training of your model. And then the second file is the analysis extent. So this is simply a polygon which covers part of the image. And inside this polygon, we have done the analysis and annotated the buildings. And outside of this polygon, we have not considered. So it is possible that there are damaged buildings outside of this extent, but all of the area within this extent has been analyzed for damaged buildings. So these are 2 examples, and then you will see for each of the other sites, the data structure is similar.
Yes, and before we go to the other slide, maybe just a quick comment. You can already use the Q&A function of Zoom. So if you have any questions while Zach goes through the data set, if you have any specific questions regarding, for example, the technicalities, but also regarding the data, then please already drop a question into the Q&A.
There is actually a question in the pipeline, and then in case we want to reply.
Yes, I mean, we can already take this first question, which is the data set is very large, and also we couldn't able to download the data because of non-accessible. I guess the question is that there is difficulties to access the data. Maybe just a few words. So first of all, yes, this data set is very big. Zach, maybe you can say a few words about the size of this data set in a few seconds. This is usually the size that you would deal with in a real life scenario as well. And regarding the data set access, this is due to a service level agreement that we have, of course, also with the charter and the members. The data set that you have access to comprises of data delivered from several charter members. And to be able to offer access to this data, we had to go through a process where we ensured that the data is used according to several level service agreements. And due to this, we as the organizing team of this challenge don't actually have power or any insight into the selection process of who gets access to this data set. So at the end of the day, it is the dataset providers who grant access or reject access to this data set. We basically don't have any saying as the organizing team here. After you have signed up for the challenge, you might have to wait 48 to 72 hours to be accepted for the data set. Please allow a little bit of time because, of course, the team has to manually add you to the team. If you have not been added to the data set, unfortunately, the organizing team cannot give you more detailed information of why that is. But of course, please feel free to reach out to us individually, and we try to solve these cases on an individual basis. Zach, would you like to say a few words about the size of the data set? Because that was a repeating question we also saw on the forum.
Yeah, sure. So the data set, yes, I agree, it's very large, and it's just because with the nature of the data that's contained, it's very high resolution imagery, which is unfortunately a bit cumbersome in terms of file size. So I would say within the charter we have certain storage capabilities with the data, so it's a little bit more smooth in this sense. But yeah, for the purpose of this challenge, I think this is why we have also as well the slim and full data set. So you can first download the slim data set while you figure out maybe the best way to ingest the full data set into your system.
Yes, and there's actually another question regarding the size of the data set, and maybe that goes more into the direction of Juan, because we have the question of how do we download the full 500 gigabyte data set. Juan has already given some instructions on the forum on how to download the data set, but maybe Juan, if you would like to add something to this question on how to download the full 500 gigabyte.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I don't understand exactly what do you mean by how. The way that you can download the full dataset is exactly the same that you download the slim dataset. It just takes longer. So if you are asking how do you store that much, then you need the storage to do it. Otherwise, I guess you just have to work with a slim dataset. But if you can be more precise with your question, maybe I can help you better.
Yes, and again, if any of the questions couldn't be answered today, or any parts, or you think of any follow-up questions, then please shoot us a message, and of course we will try the best to answer them in the coming days. Okay, we have some more questions in store, but maybe let's first move a bit further through the slides, and then we can take the rest of the questions.
Okay, good. Yes, we can finish the questions at the end. So this is the dataset structure for the images. So before we were showing the dataset structure for the annotation files, and then this for the images. So this is an example again from the China side. So this first part is the playad image, and this is the post event image. And you'll see there are different bands within. So the overview TRC, this is the true color file, so is RGB TIFF, which can be used to visualize in natural colors of the image. And then as well, there are the individual bands which are provided as well. And this could be useful for your analysis to incorporate in your model potentially different a different analysis for each band. So of course there is red, blue, green, and as well for playad there is near infrared. Then moving to the second part, this is the worldview image, and this is the pre-event image. And you can see there are two files for this image. So they're exactly the same image. It's just that one is the multispectral asset, or one of them contains the multispectral assets, and the other contains panchromatic assets. So the panchromatic assets are slightly higher resolution. So what you can do is perform a technique which is, if you're not familiar, is called pan sharpening, and this will allow you to improve the resolution of multispectral images. So this is common, and this is how they are provided to the charter. So we wanted to also include this possibility into the challenge because again, this is how we receive the data in the charter. So we want to make it realistic for the challenge and for creating the model to have the data that would be available to the charter. So this is going to be the typical structure for most of the sites. You will have most of the time you will have a playad post event image, and then you will have worldview or GUI pre-event images, which may or may not require this pan sharpening technique. And again, as I mentioned, you can check the Excel file, and the Excel file will correctly associate the pre and post event images. So if you're not sure if an image is a pre-event image or a post-event image, you can check the Excel file. So this is an example of visualizing the data. So again, taking the example of the China site. So these are the two files that I mentioned before, the China training and China testing files. So in the China training, I mentioned it's just simply for training the model, and it's visualized here in the photo. The green polygons are undamaged, and they've just been assigned the green color based on the damage field in the file being 0. So if it's 0, then they are green, and if it is 1, then they are red, which you see here. And these are the 465 buildings which have been fully annotated for training the model. And then you'll see the China testing, which is another 300 buildings. These are completely unannotated, and you can see that they're here in gray. So these are the buildings that you'll need to run through your model to predict the status of. Okay. So then finally, the submission format. You'll submit a single zip file with the 4 files contained, which were provided in the dataset, these training files. You just need to have the name of the site in your file name, and it will accept the file. And there will be an error message if you do not do this correctly. There will be an error message which tells you why your file was not selected. So it shouldn't be too difficult to make your submissions. You just need to submit the zip file with these 4 files inside. So you're taking the blank files that were provided in the data set and then running them through your model, making your predictions, and then submitting the same files. So again, on the slim versus full data set, yes, as I mentioned, the slim data set, this is the images that were used to generate the annotations. So there's essentially one pre-event and one post-event image per site. Some sites may have more imagery depending on the shape and the shape of the images, etc. So this one, if you're having some trouble downloading the data set in terms of memory, I suggest you download this one first, and then you can see what data is contained, and you can begin to have an idea of how you want to go about this challenge while you figure how you will store the full data set. And the difference with the full data set is that it contains other imagery over the same areas, as I mentioned. But these are the images. These images weren't specifically used to make the annotations. However, they do provide similar information on the areas and are also high resolution optical imagery. So these are all from other data providers, and we wanted to provide this as well to give you the opportunity to train your model on multiple data sources, multiple different sensors, as this is common in the charter, as we have many satellites in the charter. So we wanted to give you the opportunity to expose your model to different satellites. Okay, and then I'll give a brief explanation here on phase 2. So of course, right now we're in phase 1 until September 5th. And phase 1 will consist of 40% of the challenge. So then phase 2 will consist of the remaining 60%. And phase 2 will be a 10-day period between September 5th and September 15th. And in this period, we will provide you with completely unannotated scenes, unannotated building polygon files and unseen images from can be anywhere in the world again, but it will be a different images which you have not seen before, and there will not be any annotations provided. So you will need to run these images and files through your model to again predict the damaged buildings. And then these will be scored in the same way, but there will not be a public leaderboard. So the public leaderboard is up now for the live scoring. So you can make as many submissions as you'd like and tune your model. But for the phase 2, it will be on the private. Bye, Maro. Thank you for joining. And it will be on the private leaderboard. And then this will account for 60%. So this last test, we decided to make it into 2. That way, 2 phases. That way, we can present you with at the end, after you have a model that you think is trained well enough to perform. Want to provide you with some imagery that must be returned quickly in the case, like would be in the case of a real charter activation.
Yes, maybe just a few more words again. Let's have another look at the timeline. So right now we're at the 29th of July with this webinar. We still have plenty of time for phase 1. Make the best of it, of course, before we go into phase 2. And for this phase 2, why did we choose a shorter time frame? Is of course to kind of also simulate the pressure that is happening in case of an emergency event. Of course, in a real life event, every second counts as well. So with this phase 2, we wanted to show this as well. We have, however, selected the dates so that you actually have 2 weekends to work full on this phase 2. So make the fullest of these 2 weekends if this is your main mode of operation, which I think it is. So yeah, for phase 2, we will of course also share around a few more information before we launch this new phase. And that brings us already to the live question and answer session. So please use the Q&A panel of Zoom to ask any questions that you might have. You find it if you hover with your cursor to the lower bar. You actually find a respective Q&A button that you can click, and you can ask questions here. These questions are only visible to us and will only be visible to the rest of the participants if we answer it. And of course, in the recording, your name will not be visible. So please feel free to ask any questions that you might have, for example, when it comes to the submissions, when it comes to the data sets, when it comes to any timeframes. And again, if we cannot answer your question today, then we will try to answer the question in the following days. And we have a first question regarding the TIFF images, which are not correctly aligned with some of the let me actually quickly post this question also in the chat so it is visible for everybody. So it should be visible also by you, Zach and Christian, if you want to take the question. So regarding the TIFF images, which are not correctly aligned with some of the GPKGs, what do you recommend? This happens with some satellites such as the Worldview, the GF2, mostly all DS satellite TIFF images are okay. So
yeah, so I can go ahead and start and give a first answer, and maybe Christian can add on to it. But essentially, so the DS you refer to as the Pleiad imagery, and then the WV Worldview and GF2 Galfen2. So these are all 3 different satellites from 3 different data providers and 3 different agencies. So this is the problem. This is part of the problem of the challenge, and this is part of what makes this challenge so challenging in a sense, is that these images, again, as I mentioned, as they're coming from different satellites, they have different viewing angles, and they can have a geometric shift in the images. So these are essentially the images that were provided and the images that we have to work with. So this is a big part. Your comment is a big part of the challenge, and that is how to align the images properly in order to move forward and to assess the pre-event image versus the post-event image. So yes, when you have a Pleiad pre-event and Pleiad post-event image, of course you will have a pretty good alignment with the 2 images. But when you have Pleiad pre-event, or excuse me, Pleiad post-event, but a Worldview pre-event, you will have a shift between the images, and that's for sure. And that's definitely part of this challenge. As well, in emergency situations as well, since the images are taken upon request, they are not taken in a systematic manner, of course, because when the charter is activated, there is a call that goes out to the satellites, the mission planners who work the satellites, and sometimes they need to take an image quickly as the satellite is just passing over the area. So they may need to adjust the angle of the camera, which may lead to an unfavorable image. However, it is an image nonetheless. So this is how they are used in the disaster situation. And then regarding the geopackage files, the annotations are done. The annotations are done on the post-event images, so they are aligned to them, and then you will need to align the pre-event image with the post-event image to then align the geopackage files. So if Christian, maybe you can add on to that, or if you think it's okay, then we can move on.
I think that's it.
Yeah.
It's really difficult to work with this data. Yeah. So.
Yeah, it's not. It is a challenge, that's for sure, and this is one of the more difficult parts of this challenge. So, but again, I will say, this is really the best. I mean, there isn't another data set available out there that would allow us to do this challenge. I mean, this is the data that we have available, and we wish it was better, but this is part of the reason we're doing this challenge, and that's to sort of bridge this gap and try to have the most effective algorithms possible to work with the data that we have at the moment.
Okay, thank you very much. Then we have two more technical questions. The first question is, how do we constantly engage with the fellow team members? I didn't see any inbox messages. So normally if you join a team, you should of course be able to communicate to your team members. If that is not possible, please shoot us a message via hello@ai4eo.eu, and we will look at this individually. So if you cannot reach your teammates, just shoot us a message and we'll try to get you in touch and see what the problem is. And the second question is also more technical. I registered today, but I'm not able to join my team. Should I wait for 48 hours to be able to join? Well, yes. Please allow us up to 48 hours to grant you access to the data set. But please, again, keep in mind that we are not the ones from the organizing team who decide who gets access to the data set. You enter a bunch of information when you register for this challenge. And based on this, the access is either granted or rejected. We as an organizing team, unfortunately, do not have any influence or any power on these decisions. So of course, please feel free to shoot us a message, but we can't guarantee that we can give you access in all cases. But in any case, if you have just registered for the challenge, please allow us up to 48 hours to grant you the access. Yes. And I'm quite surprised because I don't see any other open question. It is quite a challenging challenge, so I would have expected there are a few more questions for our experts. But again, of course, if you have any other questions that might arise in the following days, if there's anything regarding the data set, regarding the interaction with EUTDL, where we host the data and where you download the data, then please shoot us a message. Actually, now we got a new message. Are we allowed to use any additional data besides the data given? Zach?
Well, I mean, we expect that some people may already have, potentially may already have models already that perform a similar thing. So they may need to just tune these models, and then other people may be starting from scratch. So I'm not exactly sure what you mean by this question, but essentially, I believe the answer is yes. You're permitted to. You are permitted to use whatever you need to use to train the model, but just know that the model is supposed to take as input the satellite imagery, and in phase 2, you will see that you must be able to take the imagery and submit a quick result. So if this is the case and this can be done, then I don't see the problem with using other data to train your model.
But of course, you are free to use any other data to augment your data set in case you deem beneficial for your strategy. But as Zachary was saying, then the evaluation will be done, of course, on our tested data set, basically.
Okay. I hope that closes this question. And again, if you have any other questions, please shoot them in the chat or in the Q&A section of Zoom, or otherwise, if you have more questions in the following days, just put it in the forum. Of course, you can always post in the AI for EO forum, or you could just contact us via email, hello@ai4eo.eu, and we'll try to respond to your messages as quick as possible. But it seems that we don't have any other questions. That is, again, quite surprising. No, we do have another question. Just so there's a follow-up question to the question that we had earlier. So let's take this one again from Esteban. Just to be clear, you said this data set will contain unseen images and completely annotated buildings for the phase 2. Participants will have 10 days, 2 weekends to fill the annotations. So we will be given new TIFF and G-package files, I guess. Zach.
Yes, so it will work in the same way as phase 1. We will provide a new data set on the EOTDL, which will be, of course, a very miniature data set, because it will just be a few sites. It will be much smaller than the current data set. Yes, and there will be new images, so new TIFF files, pre and post event images from different locations, which you have not seen, and also yes, fresh annotations in the same format, which you have currently. So as well, the file structure and the data set will be the same. The only difference really is that now you're not given any annotations in advance, and you are given this shorter time period. Essentially, the only differences. Thanks for your question.
So I think we can slowly close this webinar already. Thank you very much for all your questions. Of course, Zach, to guiding us through the process again and the data. That's very much appreciated. Thank you, of course, also all the attendees, all the panelists who joined, Christian, Gabriele, Juan. Thank you for joining and for your contributions. To all the attendees for joining. If you have any more questions, again, please just drop us a message in the forum or reach out to us, hello@ai4eo.eu, and we'll try to cover your questions as quick as possible. So, thank you very much for joining, everybody. Have a nice evening and see you around. Good luck with the rest of the challenge.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.